Have you ever wondered why some people can slip into laser focus instantly while others struggle for hours just to concentrate on a simple task? What if I told you that the difference isn't talent or willpower, but a systematic approach that you can learn and master in the next 15 minutes? Today, I'm going to reveal the exact neurological system that allows elite performers to enter flow state on command. And by the end of this video, you'll have a step-by-step blueprint to achieve the same level of deep focus whenever you need it. Flow state isn't some mystical experience reserved for monks or elite athletes. It's a scientifically measurable brain state where your prefrontal cortex downregulates specific functions while amplifying others, creating what researchers call transient hypofrontality. But here's what most people get wrong about flow. They think it just happens randomly when conditions are perfect. The truth is, flow state follows predictable neurological patterns. And once you understand these patterns, you can trigger them systematically. Let me start with a story that changed everything I understood about focus. 3 years ago, I was struggling to complete a critical project that required 8 hours of uninterrupted concentration. I had tried every productivity hack imaginable, from the Pomodoro technique to blocking websites, but nothing worked. My mind kept wandering, my energy kept crashing, and I was making zero meaningful progress. Then I discovered something that elite performers have known for decades, but rarely share publicly. The breakthrough came when I realized that flow state isn't about eliminating distractions or forcing concentration. Instead, it's about creating the precise neurological conditions that make deep focus inevitable. Your brain has specific requirements that must be met before it can shift into this high-performance state. And when you satisfy these requirements systematically, flow becomes predictable and repeatable. The first requirement is what neuroscientists call the challenge-skill balance. Your brain enters flow when the difficulty of your task perfectly matches your current skill level. Too easy, and you experience boredom, which keeps your brain in a low arousal state. Too difficult, and you trigger anxiety, which floods your system with cortisol and makes sustained focus impossible. The sweet spot is approximately 4% above your current comfort zone, enough to engage your attention systems without overwhelming them. But here's where most people make their first mistake. They try to find this balance through guesswork, adjusting task difficulty randomly until something feels right. This approach wastes enormous amounts of mental energy and often fails completely. Instead, you need a systematic calibration process that identifies your optimal challenge level quickly and accurately. The calibration process begins with what I call the focus assessment protocol. Take your intended task and break it into smaller components. Rate each component on a scale from 1 to 10 based on your current skill level, where 10 represents something you could do effortlessly and 1 represents something completely beyond your abilities. Your target zone is components rated between 6 and 7, complex enough to engage your full attention but manageable enough to maintain confidence. Once you've identified your target difficulty, you need to address the second requirement: clear goals with immediate feedback. Your brain's attention systems require constant information about progress to maintain engagement. Vague objectives like work on the project fail because they don't provide the continuous feedback loops that sustain flow state. Instead, you need specific, measurable outcomes that you can evaluate moment by moment. The most effective approach is micro-goal setting, where you define extremely specific objectives for short time periods. Instead of write the report, your goal becomes complete the executive summary outline with 5 main points in the next 25 minutes. This specificity allows your brain to continuously assess progress and maintain the motivation loops that sustain deep focus. Here's where the system gets really powerful. The third requirement involves managing your autonomic nervous system to create the ideal physiological state for sustained concentration. Most people try to force focus through willpower, but this approach actually activates stress responses that inhibit flow state. Instead, You need to systematically shift your nervous system into a calm but alert state that neuroscientists call relaxed focus. The technique I use is called physiological state optimization, and it takes exactly 4 minutes to complete. Start with 60 seconds of box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. And repeat. This pattern activates your parasympathetic nervous system and reduces cortisol levels. Next, spend 90 seconds doing light physical movement, like gentle stretching or walking, to increase blood flow to your prefrontal cortex. Follow this with 60 seconds of meditation or mindfulness, focusing only on your breath to quiet mental chatter. Finally, spend 30 seconds visualizing yourself successfully completing your intended task, which primes your brain's pattern recognition systems. The fourth requirement addresses your environment, but not in the way most productivity experts suggest. Rather than eliminating all distractions, you need to create what researchers call environmental consistency. Your brain associates specific environmental cues with different mental states, and you can leverage this association to trigger flow more reliably. Choose a dedicated location for deep work and use the same environmental setup every time. This includes lighting, temperature, sound levels, and even the position of objects around you. Your brain will begin associating these environmental cues with flow state, making it progressively easier to enter deep focus when you encounter these conditions. The key is absolute consistency, even down to details that seem insignificant. Now here's the game-changing part that separates this system from everything else you've tried. The fifth requirement involves what I call attention architecture, a method for structuring your cognitive load to maximize sustained focus. Most people approach complex tasks by trying to hold everything in working memory simultaneously, which quickly overwhelms your brain's processing capacity and breaks flow state. Instead, you need to externalize your cognitive load using a technique called progressive information layering. Start by documenting everything you know about your task in a visual format like a mind map or flowchart. This moves information from your working memory to external storage, freeing up mental resources for deep processing. Next, identify the single most important element that requires your full attention right now, and temporarily ignore everything else. Work on this element until completion, or until you reach a natural stopping point, then consciously shift to the next most important element. This approach prevents cognitive overload while maintaining the clear focus that flow state requires. Your brain can dedicate maximum resources to one specific challenge rather than spreading attention across multiple competing demands. The sixth requirement involves timing, specifically understanding your brain's natural ultradian rhythms. Your ability to sustain deep focus fluctuates predictably throughout the day based on hormonal cycles and neurotransmitter availability. Most people fight against these natural rhythms, trying to force concentration when their brain isn't physiologically prepared for sustained attention. Research shows that most people experience their peak focus capacity in 90-minute cycles, with optimal periods occurring roughly 2 to 4 hours after waking and again in mid to late afternoon. By scheduling your most demanding cognitive work during these natural peaks, you make flow state significantly easier to achieve and sustain. Here's how to implement this complete system starting today. Begin each deep work session with the 4-minute physiological state optimization routine. Set up your consistent environment, ensuring all environmental cues match your established pattern. Complete your focus assessment protocol to identify the optimal challenge level for your current task. Define micro goals with clear feedback mechanisms for the next 25 to 90 minutes. Implement progressive information layering to manage cognitive load effectively. During your work session, pay attention to early warning signs that flow state is breaking down. These include increased awareness of your surroundings, spontaneous thoughts about unrelated topics, physical restlessness, or emotional fluctuations. When you notice these signs, take a brief break to reset your physiological state rather than pushing through with diminished focus. The most common mistake people make when implementing this system is expecting immediate mastery. Flow state is a skill that develops over time through consistent practice. Your first attempts might yield only 15 to 20 minutes of deep focus, but with regular application, you can extend this to several hours of sustained high-performance work. Track your progress using simple metrics like total time spent in flow state, subjective focus quality on a scale from 1 to 10, and output quality or quantity during flow sessions. This data helps you identify which environmental conditions and challenge levels work best for your specific brain and allows you to continuously refine your approach. The neuroscience behind this system continues evolving, but the core principles remain consistent across all research. When you systematically address each requirement for flow state rather than hoping it occurs naturally, you transform from someone who occasionally experiences deep focus to someone who can access it reliably whenever needed. Your brain is already capable of extraordinary focus and performance. The only difference between you and those elite performers who seem to enter flow effortlessly is that they understand and consistently apply these systematic principles. You now have the same knowledge and the same capability. The question isn't whether this system works, but whether you'll commit to implementing it consistently enough to experience the transformation it makes possible. If you found the information in this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more mind-shifting and life-changing content.